Richmond is in dire straits, performing arts are down. Deadlines fast approaching and donations can't be found. We need a new director, but money is needed too. It may be time to ask yourself, oh, what would Bob do? Oh, what would Bob do? What would Bob do? What would Bob do? What would Bob do? We love our church in Chesterfield and need a pastor soon. Someone young with new ideas who can carry a godly tune. A man in sync with God for sure, new plans and energy too. It may be time to start this search, so what would Bob do? Our kids have grown and flown the coop, we've moved into the fan. We garden, cook, eat out, and walk and catch shows when we can. We love our house in Allen, but Monument is special too. We see a sign for sale and ask, oh, what would Bob do? Oh, what would Bob do? What would Bob do? What would Bob do? What would Bob do? I walked into a B&H, didn't know just what to do. I only had one check with me and my Visa card was through. I saw the lenses stacked up tall, they were shining oh so bright. I took one down from off the shelf and looked through the lens of life. It was suddenly so clear to me I'd gotten it all wrong. The shot of life was focused in on a love and service song. So I flew out of the store with my vibration reduction lens, and knew as I looked in the light I'd have to start again. The wren atop the building sang out a tribal cue, and nest in feathers green and gold, oh, what would Bob do? Oh, what would Bob do? What would Bob do? What would Bob do? What would Bob do? We've all met Bob along the way, our paths have crisscrossed. He is a man admired much who finds those who've been lost. He works out in the garden, making things grow strong and true. When someone needs some help, just ask him, what could Bob do? 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 He works for everybody who has ever been in need. Maggie Walker and the Mason School are part of his good deeds, to help each generation get the learning they deserve. And while he's doing good for them, he's also out to serve his children and his family, community and church. He is a man who never stops nor leaves you in the lurch. When on his own, he shows much joy in taking photographs. He cooks up many awesome feasts for all to share repasts. A patriot, a friend in need, a success on every team. He is the guy to emulate, fulfilling every dream. So when you want to know the score to follow your own path, well, all you really need to do is go to him and ask, oh, what would Bob do? What would Bob do? What would Bob do? What would Bob do? And if your dad sleeps heavily and it's time for him to wake, you tried all the normal things but none of them did take, then you need to get creative and ensure he gets a jolt. Wire up his legs and arms and crank out lots of volts. And when he's up and screaming and you know that you are through, that's the time to ask yourself, oh, what would Bob do? Oh, what would Bob do? What would Bob do? What would Bob do? What would Bob do? And if your friend's about to wed and he's picked you for best man, you got lots of things to do and you're worried if you can do the normal best man stuff and still pull off the prank. You have got big shoes to fill and lots of folks to thank. Do you hide the wedding rings inside your shiny shoes? If you're stuck and out of luck, think what would Bob do? Oh, what would Bob do? What would Bob do? What would Bob do? What would Bob do? Bob's Renaissance approach to life is something to behold. He jumps right in the thick of things with confidence and bold approaches to the toughest tasks. His problem-solving skills are recognized from 6th to Grace to Chimborazo Hill. A member of creative class, Bob's one accomplished boy. He conjures up great artsy thoughts while feeding all those koi. A cutting-edge type techno guy with all the latest whistles. I'd never touch his outdoor grill for fear of launching missiles. And speaking of those crab cakes, no other foods come nigh, until he took that trip last year and came back cooking Thai. So when I need a recipe for curry or a stew, then that's the time to ask myself now, what would Bob do? Oh, what would Bob do? What would Bob do? What would Bob do? What would Bob do? A breakfast meeting at 8 o'clock in Williamsburg by 10. There's no time to Sunday drive like other elder men. First go on the leather gloves and then the driver's cap. Rev up all those RPMs and have a Bluetooth chat. And when it comes to traveling, you must be up by 5. It's not a real vacation, not unless you see sunrise. Stand back, little children, waiting in line for Mickey's rides. We've got a schedule to keep, no time to compromise. He's a friend to all in need, a friend of Finn and Seed. When there's something that needs a fix, he's there with lightning speed. And if you ever break off much more than you can chew, think of he who does it all and ask what Bob would do. Oh, what would Bob do? What would Bob do? What would Bob do? What would Bob do? Seems like now's the perfect time to celebrate a man who's done more by 65 than normal people can. He's brainy and insightful, he's loyal and he's true. And that's what's got his friends all asking, what would Bob do? Oh, what would Bob do? What would Bob do? What would Bob do? What would Bob do? In stature he may not be tall, his eyesight may be weak, but you should see the ears perk up when Bob begins to speak. His knowledge is phenomenal, he's brilliant with numbers too. So many folks just ask themselves, oh, what would Bob do? Oh, what would Bob do? What would Bob do? What would Bob do? What would Bob do? Philanthropist, philosopher, 3 times a serviceman, church starter, chef, photographer, accountant and art fan, refurbisher of theaters, husband and father too. Can you tell me what he hasn't done? What else will Bob do? Oh, what would Bob do? What would Bob do? What would Bob do? What would Bob do? You might think these accomplishments would make him think he's grand, but truth be told, our Bob is really quite a humble man. He knows that he's been blessed by God, so he shares with others who, in turn, will share with many more, 'cause that's what Bob would do. Oh, what would Bob do? What would Bob do? What would Bob do? What would Bob do?